After being reborn, the very first thing I did was stop studying like a maniac and start training my body instead. Even the teacher's warnings about failing and my girlfriend Lu Royan breaking up with me had no effect on me at all, because I knew that in just 1 month, devil fruits would begin appearing all over the world. Whoever obtained a devil fruit at that time would gain extraordinary powers. In my previous life, I also obtained an extraordinary ability, but my devil fruit power was weak, and my physical fitness wasn't very good either. That's why I was brutally killed by a zombie horde. Now that I had been given a second chance, there was no way I wasn't going to take full advantage of my knowledge of the future and grab every opportunity that could be used. According to what I remembered, there was a devil fruit nearby, inside the fruit shop next to the school. The shop's name was pretty strange too, Guide You to Beautiful. The only problem was that I didn't know exactly which day the devil fruit would appear, so every day, I went to that shop to buy some fruit, while secretly checking whether the devil fruit had shown up yet. But today, while I was casually looking around the store as usual, I reached the pineapple section, and suddenly, 2 small green branches caught my attention. I moved the pineapples stacked on top, and the fruit's true form appeared right before my eyes. That's right, it was exactly the same devil fruit from my memories. This was Kaido's devil fruit, one of the 4 emperors from the world of One Piece. I quickly paid the bill and grabbed a bag full of other fruits as well, just so nobody would get suspicious. The moment I stepped out of the shop, I spotted a middle-aged man with a powerful build standing across from me, the same man who, in my previous life, had become the owner of the Azure Dragon Fruit. I secretly let out a sigh of relief. If I had been even a little later, this fruit would have ended up in his hands. The moment I returned to the dormitory, I didn't waste even a second. I picked up the Azure Dragon Fruit and took a huge bite out of it. The taste was so horrible. It felt like someone had mixed a dried-up water tank with a pit full of filth, stirred in a rotten mop, and then shoved the whole thing directly into my mouth. It tasted so disgusting that I almost threw up on the spot, but I forced myself to endure it and somehow swallowed the pulp. Then I steeled myself and swallowed the remaining peel, the seeds, and even the small purple branch attached to it. After a long while, I finally took a deep breath. The seed of a miracle had already been planted. Now, all that was left was to wait. After that, I pulled out my phone and started browsing short videos and online forums. After checking several platforms, I searched for a specific account and opened the first video. Brothers, can you see this? This is the thunder fruit. Start bidding in the comments. Whoever offers the highest price gets it. The moment I saw that video, my heart started racing. Although I had already eaten the Azure Dragon Fruit and couldn't consume a second devil fruit, once the apocalypse arrived and everyone learned their true value, not even millions of dollars would be enough to buy one. This was one of the most important trading resources in existence. And even if I didn't use it for trading, I could always give it to my parents or my younger sister. Besides, the possibility of eating a second devil fruit wasn't completely impossible. It just required both strength and luck. Instead of leaving a comment, I directly sent a private message to the blonde-haired guy Quan Chi. Bro, this fruit looks amazing. It looks completely real. I want to buy it. The people in the comments are just joking around. Tell me the price directly. If it's reasonable, I'll buy it immediately. He replied, bro, this really is a devil fruit. The price is 1.5 million. I responded, if it's really a devil fruit, then why don't you eat it yourself? If you actually want to sell it, give me a normal price. Otherwise, I'll block you. He replied, fine, 100,000. I answered 1,000. Final offer. That's the real value of a collectible model like yours. He sounded a little disappointed. He had hoped to scam someone out of a lot more money, but even 1,000 wasn't bad. A few days of fun money was still money. I said, deal. I'll pay and take the item. Then I added, you don't own a shop. If I send the money and you don't ship the item, what then? Let's meet face to face. He laughed. Face to face is fine. What are you going to do about it? Then he sent me the address. After getting the location, I immediately set off at full speed and arrived at the train station of the small town he mentioned about 2.5 hours later. I asked, are you the one selling the devil fruit? Show me the payment QR code. I'll inspect the fruit first, then I'll pay. He replied, money first, then the item. Do you think I'm going to run away? I said, this is your territory. He thought about it for a moment and realized I had a point. He had some connections in the area. Even if I tried not to pay, one phone call from him would bring his friends over within minutes. When he handed the bag to me, my hands were trembling. I took out the fruit, and my heart started pounding wildly. There was no mistake. This was a real devil fruit. Without wasting any time, I immediately transferred the 1,000 rupees. Then I carefully secured the fruit and started heading back. If trains actually ran through that miserable place, I would have gone home immediately. On the way back, I was watching short videos on my phone when one particular video suddenly caught my attention. Recently, many people have been suddenly collapsing unconscious, and strange spots have started appearing on their bodies. Experts believe this may be a new type of flu, and everyone is being advised to wear masks and take precautions. The moment I heard that news, my heart skipped a beat. People fainting, strange spots appearing on their bodies. Weren't these the exact same signs that appeared before the apocalypse began in my previous life? Without wasting even a single second, I rushed back toward the dormitory. I grabbed the supplies I had already prepared in advance and was just about to leave when a horrifying scream suddenly echoed from behind me. Several students suddenly collapsed onto the ground, and strange spots began appearing all over their bodies. Immediately afterward, a mysterious pressure spread throughout the entire area, making everyone unable to move. Then, the people who had completely lost consciousness suddenly jerked upright. Their eyes turned blood red, their fingernails grew longer and sharper, and like crazed beasts, they began pouring out of their rooms one after another. In the blink of an eye, the entire dormitory descended into chaos. Countless students cried and screamed as they desperately ran for the exits. But at that very moment, I felt a power awakening from the depths of my bloodline. The power of the Azure Dragon began emerging within my body. I raised my head and let out a thunderous roar. Blue dragon scales appeared across my skin. Dragon horns grew from my head. My hands transformed into dragon claws. My entire body began shifting into a hybrid dragon form. The students in the hallway were terrified when they saw me. In their eyes, I had become a monster just like the others. But this hybrid form had increased my physical strength, defense, speed, and recovery abilities several times over. Just then, two zombies roared and lunged at me from behind. I swung my dragon claw and sent both of them flying with a single strike. At that moment, another zombie emerged from a nearby room. I opened my mouth and released a hot breath. In the very next second, flames engulfed it and turned it into ashes. But after using that small amount of flame breath, I immediately felt my stamina dropping at an alarming rate. The true power of a devil fruit depends on stamina. No matter how common hockey becomes in the future, it still consumes stamina in the end. During the early stages of the apocalypse, everyone's physical limits are extremely low. I wasn't from Kaido's Oni race, nor did I possess a monstrous constitution like his. So even though I had obtained the Azure Dragon Fruit, I still couldn't unleash its full power. Fortunately, I already had a solution for that. I picked up my baseball bat. It was a specially customized heavy reinforced bat, perfectly designed for crushing zombie skulls. I swung the bat, and arcs of lightning immediately began dancing across its surface. The Azure Dragon Fruit could control wind, fire, and lightning. Its power might not be comparable to Logia fruits, but it was more than enough to enhance my attacks. I continued advancing through the hallway while wiping out zombies one after another. Soon, the remaining students started noticing me. Because I was constantly eliminating zombies, they finally had a chance to escape and catch their breath. My lightning-covered baseball bat looked exactly like a thunder bagua. Almost every zombie that came before me was destroyed with a single hit. But I didn't get lost in the thrill of slaughter. While fighting, I continued moving rapidly toward the lower floors. My first goal was to reach home at any cost. In this life, I would never allow my parents and little sister to suffer humiliation and abuse ever again. My second goal was to kill 100 zombies as quickly as possible, because anyone who single-handedly killed 100 zombies would unlock the divine space. From there, I could obtain the training methods for the 3-color hockey and rapidly increase my strength. The Azure Dragon could fly, but my current stamina wasn't nearly enough to carry me all the way home through the air, so I continued charging forward like the Azure Dragon war god, swinging my iron bat relentlessly. A large number of students gathered behind me, hoping to follow my lead and escape, but they didn't know one thing. In the apocalypse, there is no truly safe place. Many times, locking the dormitory doors and hiding inside actually gave people a better chance of surviving longer. When I finally stepped outside the dormitory, the scene below made my eyes narrow. This place had once been a massive graveyard. A famous rumor had always circulated around the campus. People said the yin energy here was extremely strong, and that was why nearby residents often became sick. Later, a feng shui master had supposedly suggested building a school here, allowing the yang energy of young students to suppress the yin energy of the land. But now, all the skeletons that had been buried underground for years had clawed their way back to the surface under the influence of the zombie virus, and they were attacking every living human they could find. Someone save me. The entire campus had descended into chaos. Everyone was desperately running for their lives. People crashed into each other in panic, but I ignored them all and headed straight toward the main gate. Whether it was zombies or skeletal monsters that appeared along the way, I crushed every single one of them with my bat. Finally, when I reached the school gate, my body suddenly froze. Not just me. Everyone froze. Even the zombies stopped moving. It felt as if time itself had been frozen across the entire world. Then darkness swallowed my vision. Divine descent. Devil fruits have arrived. Divine space activated. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a mysterious place. There was no time here, no direction, no real physical location. Only 2 screens of light floated before me. One large screen and one small screen. The large screen displayed Divine Shop. The smaller screen displayed Personal Panel. I was already very familiar with these things from my previous life. This was an opportunity granted by some unknown existence. A place where techniques, equipment, skills, and resources could be purchased using points. Then a notification appeared. You are the first person to have hunted 100 zombies. You have received a divine reward. You earned 100 points within 10 minutes of the apocalypse beginning. Therefore, you have been granted a special reward. 3 options immediately appeared before me. The first reward was Perfect Fruit. It would evolve my Azure Dragon Fruit into its complete form. All side effects of the fruit would disappear. I would no longer be affected by sea stone or seawater. I could even consume a second devil fruit without my body exploding. The second reward was Hockey Genius. It required no training and no points. I would instantly awaken all 3 colors of hockey. Even without practice, they would continue growing on their own over time. And if I trained, their growth speed would double. The third reward was the Zombie Slayer Divine Weapon. I would receive a supreme grade weapon of my choice, one that dealt double damage to zombies, fruit, hockey, or weapon. I could only choose one. The first and third rewards would immediately increase my combat power. The second reward would strengthen me gradually, but its potential ceiling was far higher. Based on my experience from my previous life, hockey never became outdated, even during the later stages of the apocalypse. I fell into thought for a few moments, then I remembered something Kaido once said. Hockey is the true foundation. Roger and Garp didn't possess devil fruits, yet they still became the strongest warriors in the world. Even Kaido valued hockey so highly that he paid less attention to awakening his own devil fruit. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I made my decision. The more powers you have doesn't necessarily make you stronger. What truly matters is pushing a single power to its absolute limit. How powerful the Azure Dragon Fruit would become depended entirely on my physical strength. The very next moment, I chose Haki Genius. Instantly, all 3 colors of Haki awakened within me. A thin layer of black energy coated my fists. This was Armament Haki. After that, I spent some points to buy 5 water meats, a special food that rapidly restored stamina and helped users fight for much longer periods. The personal panel wasn't just a status screen. It was also a communication device. After human civilization collapsed during the apocalypse, people stayed connected through the communication function of this very panel. It even contained various channels, and many people had already begun chatting inside them. Just then, an announcement echoed through the space. Space connection will soon be terminated. In the future, simply thinking about divine space will allow entry. Darkness once again covered my vision. When I opened my eyes, I was back in my body. Countless zombies, terrified students, and frightened teachers surrounded me from all directions. Without hesitation, I stuffed a water meat into my mouth and began devouring it while rapidly moving toward the school gate. Suddenly, I sensed danger. I instantly twisted my body to the side. The spot where I had been standing exploded open the next moment, and a skeletal arm burst out from beneath the ground. Many people believed they could leave the city, hide somewhere remote, and somehow survive. But they didn't know the truth. Not a single inch of safe land remained in this world anymore. At the same time, emergency broadcasts were continuously playing on car radios throughout the streets. This is a national emergency announcement. All citizens are advised to remain calm. Stay inside your homes and keep all doors and windows closed. Our military has been fully mobilized. The broadcast continued. Our biological laboratories are also working on developing an antidote. Please remain calm and do not make reckless decisions out of panic. But I knew the reality was far more terrifying. The first wave of the zombie virus spread through the air. People with weaker physical constitutions were infected first. That was why hospitals and nursing homes became the largest centers of infection. After the apocalypse officially began, blood transmission became the primary method of infection. Under those circumstances, soldiers with excellent physical fitness had a much lower chance of becoming infected. That was why the military remained somewhat effective during the early stages of the apocalypse. But I knew it wouldn't last long. If the military wanted to eliminate zombies quickly, they would have to rely on guns and other firearms. The problem was that killing zombies with firearms didn't grant points. Without points, they couldn't grow stronger. Meanwhile, the zombies would continue evolving without stopping. Eventually, they would reach a level where ordinary firearms became completely ineffective. As the zombies grew stronger, the military would gradually weaken, and society would collapse faster and faster. That was why there was only one true hope in this apocalypse. Every human being had to become a warrior. Everyone had to fight zombies with their own hands. This was a survival competition where only the capable and the powerful could continue moving forward. My car sped down the highway. Whenever a zombie appeared in front of me, I didn't hit the brakes. I simply ran it over and kept driving. Then suddenly, my phone started ringing. The moment I answered, I heard my little sister's terrified voice from the other side. "Big brother, where are you? There are so many zombies outside. I'm really scared." I immediately replied, "I'm fine. How are you? Are mom and dad okay?" She let out a relieved sigh. "Mom listened to what you said and took leave from work ahead of time. She already picked me up from school and brought me home. Dad is still at the hospital. He said he's locked himself inside his office and is safe for now." Big brother, you really were like a prophet. If you hadn't forced mom to take leave from work, we probably would have died outside by now. For the past month, my younger sister Ouching had been extremely confused. Every day, I had been sending huge amounts of daily necessities back home. Whenever my family asked why I was stockpiling so many supplies, I never answered. They also had no idea where I got all that money. The truth was, I didn't have any money. Making that much in a single month was impossible. But when the apocalypse was about to arrive anyway, why would I be afraid of taking loans? I borrowed money from nearly every online lending platform available. If explaining things to my parents hadn't been such a problem, I might have even mortgaged the house. Of course, with divine space existing, there wasn't actually a need to stockpile an excessive amount of resources. Those supplies were only for emergencies. We were still talking when a luxury car ahead suddenly swerved while trying to avoid a zombie that had jumped onto the road. The vehicle flipped over instantly. At that exact moment, a horrifying chain collision began. Several cars behind it crashed into one another. Within seconds, the entire highway descended into chaos. Many people died on the spot, but I had already known this would happen. Stopping was no longer an option. I immediately grabbed my backpack and baseball bat. Then I transformed into my Azure Dragon form. Bursting through the roof of the car, I shot directly into the sky. Clouds and mist lifted my enormous dragon body upward as I rapidly climbed higher into the heavens. Everyone on the road was completely stunned by the miraculous sight. The already catastrophic traffic accident became even more chaotic, but I couldn't care less about the commotion below. I flew straight into the clouds and headed toward my home. From time to time, I pulled out water meat from my backpack and ate it to restore my stamina. My current strength wasn't enough to maintain flight continuously for long periods. Eventually, after all the water meat was gone, I had no choice but to land. The moment my feet touched the ground, I transformed back into my human form. I quickly scanned my surroundings. For now, there weren't any zombies nearby. I immediately entered divine space and exchanged for another 5 water meats, stuffing them into my backpack. At the moment, my backpack contained only 5 water meats and 1 unknown devil fruit. After eating a water meat, I didn't take off flying again right away. Water meat could restore stamina, but if I relied on it continuously, my stamina consumption would actually increase even faster. More importantly, it couldn't restore mental fatigue at all. I opened the map and checked my location. I needed to reach a highway and find a vehicle there. After deciding on a direction, I transformed into the Azure Dragon once once again. This time, I flew for only 10 minutes. Soon, a highway came into view below me. Countless vehicles were speeding down the road. My goal was to find a sturdy off-road SUV. Many people on the highway spotted the Azure Dragon flying through the sky. They immediately pulled out their phones, recorded videos, and uploaded them to the Divine Space communication channels. Guys, I saw a dragon. A huge Azure Dragon, at least 10 meters long. Someone quickly replied, that has to be Kaido's Azure Dragon fruit. I wonder which lucky bastard got such a powerful mythical beast fruit. Then another message appeared. I once had a thunder fruit too, but I thought it was fake and sold it. The person who posted that message was none other than the blonde-haired Huang Do. At that moment, he felt so much regret that he wanted to kill himself. After all, he had sold a genuine thunder fruit for only 1,000 yuan. As I flew above the highway connecting Juzhou and Yuzhou, I finally spotted an extremely durable-looking off-road SUV. I was just preparing to descend and take it when something else caught my attention. Beside the road stood a massive tree. A faint yet mysterious glow was flickering near it. I had already predicted that most of the devil fruits appearing around the world would be Zoan types. However, mythical beast fruits weren't nearly as rare as people imagined. After all, every culture and civilization in the world possessed countless mythical creatures, divine beasts, and demonic monsters. New mythical beast fruits would be born based on all of them, but even if their numbers increased, mythical fruits would still remain among the most powerful devil fruits in existence. Using my dragon claw, I plucked the glowing fruit from the tree and placed it inside my large backpack. Once my points reached 1,000, a new divine space function would unlock, Devil Fruit Identification. With that ability, I could determine a devil fruit's power before consuming it and avoid wasting a valuable chance on a useless fruit. Unfortunately, the service was extremely expensive. Every single identification cost a full 1,000 points. I was about to continue pursuing the off-road SUV when a large truck ahead suddenly flipped over. At the same moment, 3 zombies crawled out from inside and began attacking nearby vehicles, but nobody had the courage to stop. One driver slammed the accelerator to the floor and drove directly over the zombies. Then he began swerving left and right, trying to shake them off. His actions immediately caused another chain reaction accident. I glanced at the scene briefly before heading toward the overturned truck. Transforming into my human beast form, I grabbed the side of the truck. Using the terrifying strength granted by the Azure Dragon Fruit, I forcefully lifted it back upright. The power provided by the Azure Dragon Fruit was truly monstrous. After that, I climbed into the truck and took control of it myself. Only gradually did I realize that all those vehicles were now following behind my truck. I saw the scene through the rearview mirror, but it didn't bother me. As long as they didn't interfere with what I was doing, I had no problem letting them follow. Accidents continued occurring along the road. From time to time, I got out of the truck, killed zombies, and cleared the road ahead. Then a wealthy-looking, middle-aged man with a fat build approached me with a smile. If you protect me, I'll give you as much money as you want. I looked at him coldly and said, take one more step forward, and you die. The man was so terrified that he accidentally dropped to his knees on the spot. At that moment, my dragon form and the kingly aura radiating from my body made it feel as if a supreme ruler stood before him. Just a slight release of my conqueror's haki left many nearby people frozen in fear. Still, the fear of death could make people do anything. A stunningly beautiful, mature woman gathered her courage and approached me. Even in the middle of the apocalypse, she had carefully dressed herself to look incredibly attractive. Smiling sweetly, she said, handsome, can you take me with you? You can do whatever you want with me. Without changing my expression, I replied with a single sentence, get lost. I was just about to deactivate my dragon transformation and climb back into the truck when a tall, muscular man hurried toward me. He noticed that I wasn't planning to stay long, so he quickly spoke. Sir, I've read a lot of apocalypse novels too. You're incredibly powerful, but don't you need people if you're planning to build a base? My name is Lin Kiedo. I don't have any special talents, but I'm very strong. I'm a combat coach, and I can definitely be useful to you. I stopped and looked at him. Resting a hand on my chin, I thought for a moment. His words weren't wrong. Civilization and social order were about to completely collapse. If I wanted to survive long-term in the apocalypse, I would eventually need to build my own safe base. The zombies' growth speed was far too fast. Protecting my family alone at all times would be difficult, even for me. When Lin Ki saw that I was actually considering his proposal, excitement immediately appeared on his face. Without wasting a second, he abandoned all of his belongings, his car, and everything else right where he stood. He was afraid that if he hesitated for even a moment, I would leave without him. He was so cautious that he didn't even dare sit in the front seat. Using his physical strength, he climbed directly into the cargo area at the back of the truck. Seeing Lin Ki succeed, the others suddenly felt a spark of hope. They realized I wasn't completely heartless. At that moment, the wealthy middle-aged man was about to speak again, but I cut him off before he could. Even if I decide to recruit people, I won't choose someone based solely on their words. At this stage, one person is enough, and his loyalty hasn't been proven yet. He'll be tested over time. Just then, the beautiful woman stepped forward again and spoke with determination. Please give me a chance. My abilities and my life will both be dedicated to helping you achieve your goals. The determination in her eyes made me realize she wasn't an ordinary woman. Maybe she truly had something special. I studied her carefully for a few seconds before finally saying, get in the truck. The woman's face instantly lit up with joy, but even after receiving my permission, she didn't dare sit in the front seat. Instead, she used all her strength to climb into the cargo area at the back of the truck. Watching this, I quietly quietly nodded to myself. Perhaps she was more than just a pretty face. Many of the people standing behind her also wanted to follow me, but the moment I released a small amount of Conqueror's Haki, they all collapsed to the ground in terror. One of them said in a trembling voice, "Oh my god, this boss has awakened Conqueror's Haki too." Some experienced One Piece fans immediately recognized the kingly aura. I returned to the driver's seat and continued driving. After roughly 2.5 hours of travel, I finally spotted a service area along the roadside, but the entire place had been completely overrun by zombies. Many travelers wanted to stop there for fuel and supplies. However, the sheer number of zombies scared them away. As for me, I wasn't concerned at all. The moment the truck stopped, a massive horde of zombies charged toward us. They couldn't enter the driver's cabin, so instead, they began climbing onto the truck, trying to attack Lin Kei and the woman in the cargo area. The two of them immediately hid inside and didn't even dare stick their heads out. I stepped out of the truck, transforming into my human beast form. I swung my baseball bat. Within seconds, I crushed the heads of multiple zombies that were climbing onto the truck. Then I noticed something. The entire vehicle convoy that had been following behind me had also reached the service area. They clearly wanted me to clear out the zombies so they could safely refuel and gather supplies. But the moment their vehicles arrived, a gigantic zombie horde rushed toward them. The entire convoy was forced to abandon the service area and continue driving forward. Meanwhile, I kept eliminating zombies one after another. Before long, I had completely cleared the entire service area. I intentionally left one zombie alive for Lin Kei. After all, he was a combat coach. His strength, speed, and combat reflexes were genuinely impressive. By the time I returned after refueling, he had successfully killed the zombie himself. After collecting supplies, I finally asked the beautiful woman wearing a tight-fitting outfit for her name. Although she looked slim and fragile, and didn't seem particularly useful at first glance, she had proven herself quite well ever since climbing aboard my truck. Even when the zombies were climbing onto the vehicle, she hadn't screamed or panicked. That earned a little more of my respect. As soon as I asked her name, she immediately replied, "My name is Lu Muqian." I nodded. "From now on, sit in the front seat. You don't need to stay in the cargo area anymore." The moment she heard that, she lowered her head and said, "Yes, master." That form of address caught me off guard once again. She hadn't even asked for my name. Yet she had already started calling me master. In a world like the apocalypse, only those who could abandon their pride and ego had a chance of surviving for a long time. A little while later, we resumed our journey. On the way, I received another call from my younger sister, Ao Ching. "Big brother, where are you? Dad is trapped inside the hospital office. I heard hospitals have the highest number of zombies. Dad doesn't even have food or water. I'm really scared something might happen to him." Her voice sounded as if she was about to cry. I could also hear my mother's voice on the other side of the call. How are things at your school? Make sure you stay safe. We'll find a way to rescue you," I replied. "Mom, don't worry. I obtained Kaido's Azure Dragon Fruit." The moment Ao Ching heard the words devil fruit, a large portion of her fear disappeared. The two of us continued talking on the phone for almost an hour. After ending the call, I immediately called my father. I told him that I had become an ability user and that I would reach the hospital soon to rescue him. I repeatedly warned him to stay hidden inside the office and not attempt to leave under any circumstances. Meanwhile, Ao Hai was trapped inside the office. The hunger, thirst, and constant pounding of zombies against the door had pushed him to his limit. He was drifting between sleep and unconsciousness when my call suddenly came through. The moment he saw my name, life returned to his eyes. When I started a video call and showed him my dragon human form slaughtering zombies, he finally felt relieved. He guided me to the location of his office. I quickly arrived at a small office located in one corner of the hospital. 12 zombies were continuously trying to break down the door. Several large holes had already been punched through it. If tables and chairs hadn't been stacked behind the door to block it, the zombies would have broken in long ago and torn my father to pieces. I swung my baseball bat. Within a few seconds, I smashed all 12 zombies' heads apart. Then I delivered a powerful kick and blasted the office door open. My father's condition was definitely poor, but he was completely safe. For me, that was the best news possible. While eating a water meat, Ao Hai asked, "So this is the devil fruit ability you and Ao Ching were talking about?" During the time he had been trapped inside the office, he had watched countless videos and discussions through the Divine Space communication channels. As a result, he had already learned quite a bit about One Piece and devil fruits. I burst out laughing and crushed the head of another zombie that had wandered inside. "Well, Dad, what do you think of your son now? Pretty cool, right?" Ao Hai smiled and replied, "Very cool, you little brat." Ever since the apocalypse began, he had witnessed countless people being torn apart by zombies with his own eyes. Under those circumstances, the fact that his entire family was still alive and safe was already the greatest blessing he could ask for. As we were leaving the hospital, I noticed people hiding behind doors and windows in several buildings, secretly peeking outside. When they saw Ao Hai leaving with a dragon man and witnessed how effortlessly that dragon man was slaughtering zombies, many of them immediately started shouting for help. "Old Hai, save us too." A trace of sympathy appeared on Ao Hai's face. "How? Save them too? They're all my colleagues. They're good people," I replied coldly. "And then what? After saving them, should I personally escort every single one of them back home? And even if they make it home, can anyone guarantee they'll survive?" I ignored their desperate cries and continued moving forward with my father. Eventually, we arrived at the room where Lin Kei and Lu Muqian were hiding. I killed the zombies attacking the door and smashed it open with a single strike. The moment they saw me, both of them immediately stepped out and said in unison, "Master." Ao Hai's eyes widened instantly. On one side stood a giant man covered in muscles. On the other stood an incredibly beautiful woman. Both of them were bowing respectfully before me, especially Lu Muqian calling calling me master. That made the situation even stranger in his eyes. His expression practically screamed, "Good lord, what exactly has my son been doing out there?" Even with the thick skin I had developed over 2 lifetimes, I couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed trying to remain calm. I explained, "They're just like younger brother and sister I met along the way." But Aohai's eyes clearly said he didn't believe a single word. Rather than continuing to explain, I simply kept quiet. Soon, we all returned to the truck. I seated Dad in the front passenger seat and sent Lu Muqian back to the cargo area again. When we finally arrived home, my younger sister Aoqing immediately stared at Lu Muqian with wide eyes. "Wow, what a beautiful woman. And wait, what did she just call Big Brother? Master." Then she looked toward Lin Qi. "And who is this muscle monster? If someone told me he's a special forces soldier, I'd believe it. And he's calling Big Brother boss too." At that moment, Lu Muqian stood quietly behind me like a perfect maid, both hands folded respectfully in front of her stomach. Meanwhile, Lin Qi looked extremely uncomfortable. He was naturally a friendly and outgoing person, but this was his boss's family. He genuinely didn't know how he was supposed to act. Fortunately, my mother, Lu Yanyan, stepped in and saved the situation. Smiling warmly, she said, "Everyone must be hungry, right?" The moment she learned that Dad and I were coming home, she had stopped sleeping altogether. Instead, she spent the entire night cooking so we could eat a hot meal. What she hadn't expected was that I would bring 2 additional people home. As a result, the food was slightly insufficient. Thankfully, I had stockpiled plenty of canned food beforehand. After opening several cans, Mom managed to prepare a full dinner for everyone. When I noticed that Lin Ke and Lu Muqian were still standing off to the side, I invited them to eat as well. Lin Ke was just about to step forward when Lu Muqian suddenly spoke. "Please just give me some canned food. I cannot sit at the same table as Master." The moment those words left her mouth, everyone in the room froze. Qing's eyes immediately started moving back and forth between me and Lu Muqian. Then she flashed a mischievous smile. "Oh, now I get it. This is called flirting." Before she could finish her sentence, I lightly knocked her on the head. Tears instantly filled her eyes from the pain, and she grabbed my hand and started biting it. After dinner, I pulled 2 devil fruits out of my backpack. I currently have 2 devil fruits. One is the thunder fruit. The other one's ability is still unknown. You guys can choose one and eat it. Both Lin Ke and Lu Muqian were visibly shocked. They hadn't expected me to possess something so incredibly rare. The desire in their eyes was obvious. Meanwhile, Aoqing excitedly grabbed both fruits and started examining them. Then she showed them to our parents, but Aohai handed the fruits back to me. "Give them to Aoqing. We're already old. It would be a waste for us to eat them." Mom immediately agreed. "That's right. We already have a son like you protecting us. That's more than enough. If these precious things stay with you, they'll be much more useful." I tried to explain. "I already have the Azure Dragon Fruit. My growth speed will be extremely fast. But if you eat devil fruits too, you'll be able to kill zombies, earn points faster, and unlock hockey training. In the apocalypse, that's the real capital." However, no matter how much I tried to persuade them, neither of my parents changed their minds. In the end, I gave up and looked toward Aoqing. "Fine. You choose." Aoqing had been waiting for this moment for a long time. She repeatedly examined both fruits in her hands. But after thinking carefully for quite a while, she handed the thunder fruit back to me. I was stunned. "You don't want the thunder fruit? Logia elementalization is practically invincible during the early stages, and we don't even know what the other fruit's ability is." Aoqing smiled and replied, "There are demon removal potions in divine space. They can remove the side effects of devil fruits and allow someone to eat a second fruit. Big brother, you're already so strong. You'll definitely be able to obtain one of those potions. The thunder fruit is much more useful for you. I'll eat the other fruit." I thought about it for a moment. "Alright, but let's identify it first. If the ability is good, then you can eat it." Devil fruit identification only unlocked after reaching 1000 points. Aoqing didn't know that because she still hadn't earned any points yet. But I had slaughtered so many zombies from the school all the way to the hospital that my points had already surpassed 1000. Suddenly, Aoqing hurriedly shook her head. "No, 1000 points is way too much." Before I could even respond, she acted immediately. She grabbed the devil fruit that looked like a golden ear of corn and took a huge bite out of it. My heart skipped a beat. I had never expected her to eat it so casually. If it turned out to be a weak ability, there would be no chance to regret it later, but it was already too late. Aoqing had swallowed the fruit. All I could do now was silently pray that she had obtained a powerful ability. I kept hoping that this devil fruit would grant something truly extraordinary. Everyone in the room stared at Aoqing, carefully watching for any changes happening in her body. Aoqing herself was extremely nervous. She could feel a mysterious energy racing through her body. Soon, that energy spread throughout her entire body, and her transformation began. In the very next moment, her body rapidly shrank, and she turned into a tiny mouse-like creature, no bigger than the palm of a hand, with white fur and golden markings. It's a Zoan type. Everyone in the room immediately realized that this was an animal-type devil fruit. However, that little mouse didn't look ordinary at all. A special mystical aura radiated from its body, making it obvious that this wasn't a normal species. I quickly asked Usta, "Tell me, what category is it? Ordinary Zoan, ancient Zoan, or mythical beast?" Aoqing excitedly replied, "It's a mythical beast." The moment I heard the words mythical beast, a smile spread across my face. It looked like Aoqing's gamble had paid off. Mythical beast fruits always came with special abilities. I immediately asked, "Then what's its ability?" Aoqing smiled and said, "Watch." As soon as she said that, she suddenly jumped downward. In the next instant, her entire body sank straight into the floor. The shocking part was that no hole appeared in the ground, and not a single crack formed. It looked as if she had simply passed directly into the earth itself. A few seconds later, that same little mouse emerged from behind me and transformed back into her human beast form. Proudly puffing out her chest, she declared, "Ladies and gentlemen, I officially announce my devil fruit ability. My fruit is the animal-type rat fruit mythical beast, treasure rat form." Then she raised a finger and continued, "I have a total of 3 abilities. First, I can pass through any soil, stone, or earth-type obstacle. Whether it's traveling underground or passing straight through a wall, it's as easy for me as moving through a layer of water." Hearing that left all of us stunned, but ouching wasn't finished yet. She continued, "My second ability is an independent treasure space where I can store any non-living object." After saying that, she picked up the mop resting in the corner of the room and brought it toward her chest. The next moment, she pushed the entire long mop directly into her body. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. The long mop completely disappeared inside her body. Even Mother Liu Yunan was so surprised that she immediately rushed over. She checked inside Ouching's clothes to see if she had somehow hidden the mop, but there was nothing there. Then Ouching reached toward her chest and pulled the same mop back out. What interested me the most was her second ability. I immediately asked, "How large is this storage space?" That was an extremely important question for me. As far as I knew, during the early stages of the apocalypse, no kind of storage equipment existed. Whether such equipment would appear later or not, I had no idea. But if Ouching's storage space turned out to be large enough, it could become an invaluable asset for us. Ouching answered, "Right now, it's only 10 cubic meters. But as I continue developing the fruit, the space will keep growing larger." I was already deeply impressed after hearing that. But then Ouching flashed a mischievous smile and said, "I'm not finished yet. I have a third ability too." For a moment, I was completely stunned. Just the earth travel ability and the personal storage space already felt like god-tier powers, and now she was saying that she had a third ability as well. I immediately asked, "What is it?" Ouching proudly replied, "Treasure detection." The moment I heard that, I nearly cursed out loud. Earth travel, storage space, and treasure detection. That combination was practically a cheat ability. For a brief moment, I even felt that my Azure Dragon Fruit wasn't as amazing as hers. But then I reminded myself that the Azure Dragon Fruit had its own strengths. First, it could control 3 natural elements at once: wind, fire, and lightning. Second, it granted the ability to fly through cloud riding. And third, compared to most other Zoan fruits, it provided far greater strength, defense, speed, and recovery. When comparing the two, the difference was obvious. The Azure Dragon was built for combat. The Treasure Rat, on the other hand, was designed for support and exploration outside of combat. But then Ouching's expression suddenly became a little gloomy. She said, "This fruit has a weakness too. Unlike other Zoan users, I don't receive any strength or defense boost when I enter my beast form. In fact, when I'm in beast form, my combat power drops to almost 0. Then she showed her human beast form and said, "And even in my human beast form, I barely get any physical enhancement. My strength and defense remain about the same as an ordinary person's." After saying that, she smiled again. "But my speed is incredibly high. I think my speed bonus is at least twice that of other mythical Zoan users." The pride on her face was impossible to miss. To be honest, this wasn't a combat-oriented devil fruit, but its utility might actually be more valuable than the Azure Dragon Fruit. After all, what did treasure detection mean? At this stage of the apocalypse, what was the greatest treasure in the world? The answer was almost obvious: devil fruits. And it wasn't just devil fruits. In the future, various secret realms and mystical dungeons would begin to appear as well. Ouching's ability would give us a massive advantage in finding the hidden treasures, resources, and opportunities concealed within those places. As I thought about it, only one idea came to mind. Perhaps my family's fate had just changed forever. When the secret realms and mystical dungeons opened in the future, this ability would give us an enormous advantage. After thinking for a while, I handed the thunder fruit to Ouching and said, "Store this inside your treasure space. For now, there's probably no safer place in the entire world." After realizing the true value of the thunder fruit, I had her place it inside her storage space. After that, I distributed 30 points to everyone from my own points so they could exchange them for the 3-color hockey training method. After all, even without a devil fruit, someone who developed their hockey to its limit could become a powerful warrior. On the other hand, even if someone possessed a devil fruit, weak hockey would eventually cause them to fall behind in the apocalypse. Afterward, I exchanged a standard military knife for each person from the divine space. Once all preparations were complete, I led everyone outside. Countless zombies were wandering around below the building. I transformed into my dragon human form and smashed a zombie to the ground with my bat, pinning it so it couldn't move. Then I looked at my father and said, "Dad, finish it with this knife." Ao-hai hesitated for a few moments. After all, before becoming a zombie, it had once been a human being. Killing a creature that still looked human wasn't easy for him. At that moment, Ouching stepped forward and said, "Big brother, let me give Dad a demonstration." She immediately drew her long knife and, with a single slash, cut off the zombie's head. A rotten stench instantly spread through the air. Ao-hai wrinkled his nose. But as a doctor, he wasn't too shaken by it. I quickly grabbed another zombie and slammed it to the ground. This time, Lu Mian stepped forward herself and killed it. After watching both girls do it, Ao Hai finally gathered his courage and killed his first zombie with his own hands. After that, Mother Lu Yunan also eliminated a zombie. As for Lin Kui, he was already capable of fighting a zombie by himself. As a combat coach, his combat abilities were far superior to the rest of my family. Now all of them possessed the hockey training method. The true training of armament hockey required extreme physical conditioning and constant combat. Looking at everyone, I said, "Dad, for now, stay near the house and keep training. I'm going farther out to clear zombies." In the apocalypse, the fastest way to grow stronger was to continuously strengthen your body through battle. Fighting zombies didn't just improve physical growth, it also rewarded points. And points had become the new currency of this world. They could be used to purchase items from the divine space and to trade with other survivors. The old money system had already become completely useless. Just as I was about to leave, Ao Ching ran over and wrapped herself around my arm. "Big brother, I'm coming with you." I shook my head. "No. I'm going to clear the zombies nearby. If you get tired, you can return home, but going farther away with me is too dangerous. And besides, your devil fruit isn't very strong in combat." Ao Ching immediately replied, "But I can sense treasure in the southwest direction. I can help you hunt for treasure." The moment I heard that, I stopped in my tracks. Treasure. At a time like this, what could be the most valuable treasure in the world? Almost certainly, a devil fruit. I thought for a few seconds before finally saying, "Fine, but don't leave my side for even a single step." After that, I gave Lin Kui a few instructions and set off toward the southwest with Ao Ching. Both of us were in our human beast forms. The speed granted by her treasure rat form genuinely shocked me. She was so fast that zombies couldn't even touch her clothes. On top of that, her earth travel ability was even more bizarre. Although her attack power wasn't particularly high, she could easily eliminate zombies using hit-and-run tactics. As I crushed a zombie's head with my bat, Ao Ching sliced off another zombie's head with her knife. However, constantly using her abilities was rapidly exhausting her stamina. Even so, she panted heavily while looking at me with a proud expression. It was as if she were saying, "Hurry up and praise me." Seeing the hopeful look in her eyes, I couldn't help but smile. My little sister is amazing. The moment she heard my praise, her eyes narrowed with happiness. Two adorable dimples appeared on her cheeks. But relaxing that much in the middle of combat was dangerous. Suddenly, a zombie lunged at her from behind. Ao Ching immediately tried to escape by diving into the ground, but she had already consumed too much stamina. She couldn't even activate her ability. The zombie rapidly closed the distance. At the very last second, I swung my bat and sent the zombie flying away. Ao Ching started breathing heavily. After all, unlike me, she hadn't spent the last month training like a madwoman, nor did she possess a talent as monstrous as my hockey genius ability. With the points I had given her, she had only managed to obtain the hockey training method, but her hockey still hadn't awakened yet. The treasure rat form didn't provide much of a boost to physical strength either. So the reason she had managed to keep fighting until now was entirely because of her own hard work and natural fitness. After a while, Ao Ching suddenly pointed toward the southwest. "The treasure is in that direction. I'll show you the way." After saying that, she stored her long knife inside her treasure space, transformed into her beast form, and jumped onto my shoulder. The tiny white mouse, no bigger than a palm, began rubbing her head against my dragon-scaled cheek. I immediately activated my Azure Dragon transformation. The next moment, a thunderous dragon roar echoed throughout the entire city. The roar was so powerful that everyone hiding inside the surrounding buildings was startled. People rushed to their windows and balconies to look outside. Then they witnessed an unbelievable sight. A massive Azure Dragon was soaring toward the sky, stepping on clouds and mist as if they were solid ground. Within moments, it disappeared into the sea of clouds. If the Azure Dragon boss has really come to our BN city, does that mean he'll clear out all the zombies in the city? Someone recorded a video of the flying Azure Dragon and uploaded it to the communication channel of Divine Space. Those who didn't have the courage to fight zombies were hiding inside their homes, using Divine Space to communicate with survivors around the world. Meanwhile, I was rapidly flying in the direction Ao Ching pointed out. In her treasure rat form, Ao Ching continuously twitched her tiny nose, sensing the direction of the treasure. The closer we got, the stronger her perception became. Soon, we arrived above a dense forest. I descended from the sky and transformed into my human beast form. Then the two of us rushed into the forest at full speed. There were very few humans here, and only a handful of zombies could be seen. I easily dealt with every zombie we encountered along the way. Then suddenly, Ao Ching shouted loudly. There, beneath a large pine tree stood a man with an ugly, cunning-looking face. In his hand was a red, star-shaped devil fruit. His face was filled with crazy excitement. He had escaped from the city to save his life and thought he could hide safely in this deserted forest. Instead, he had stumbled upon a devil fruit. He wasn't a One Piece fan, so he couldn't recognize it. However, from browsing Divine Space forums, he knew that any devil fruit was an incredibly valuable treasure. Looking at the fruit, he burst into laughter. It looks like luck has finally smiled on Wang Defa. With that, he opened his yellow-toothed mouth and was just about to eat the fruit. Both Ao Ching's and my expressions changed instantly. There was no longer enough time to stop him. Without hesitation, I unleashed a blazing fire breath toward him. The next moment, the man was engulfed in flames. Ao Ching and I immediately rushed over. Amid the ashes, the devil fruit lay completely unharmed. I let out a sigh of relief and picked it up. After living through an entire apocalypse in my previous life, I no longer possessed the same compassion I once had, but the discomfort on Ao Qing's face was obvious. She hadn't been raised in a way that would allow her to watch someone die without being affected. In a calm voice, I said, "In this world, strength is the only law. If we didn't have power, and someone discovered our devil fruits, we'd end up exactly the same way." Ao Qing slowly nodded. The apocalypse had only begun 2 days ago, but she had already seen countless examples of human greed and cruelty on the Divine Space forums. She understood what I meant. Even so, there was still a trace of guilt lingering in her heart. She quietly stood beside me, holding my hand. Then the two of us carefully examined the devil fruit. It was a red, heart-shaped fruit covered in black spiral patterns. As One Piece fans, we recognized it instantly. This was one of the most valuable devil fruits in all of One Piece. Like the Nika fruit, its value was considered to be around 5 billion belly. It was the Op fruit, Law's famous surgery fruit. In my previous life, the user of this fruit had been an extremely famous and powerful individual. But that powerful person and this pathetic man were completely different. It was obvious that this man hadn't survived very long after obtaining the fruit. After his death, the fruit must have respawned somewhere else in the world, and eventually fallen into the hands of someone truly powerful. The devil fruits of the apocalypse worked exactly like they did in the manga. After an ability user died, their devil fruit would reappear at a random location somewhere in the world. Because of this, many powerful people later began hunting weaker ability users, hoping their fruits would respawn and eventually end up in their possession. However, the chances of success were extremely low. No one could predict a respawn location. Handing me the fruit, Ao Qing said, "Big brother, we should give this fruit to Dad. He'll love this ability." She was absolutely right. For a surgeon, there was probably no devil fruit more suitable than the surgery fruit. Now that we had obtained the treasure, I transformed into the Azure Dragon once again. Ao Qing climbed onto my back, and we quickly headed home. By the time we arrived, our parents had already returned home to rest after exhausting themselves from training. Liu Mengqian was taking care of them, attending to their every need. Meanwhile, Lin Gui was still downstairs fighting zombies. He understood that simply becoming my follower wasn't enough. If he wanted respect and a place for himself in the future, he needed to increase his own strength. By now, quite a few people below the building were trying to kill zombies. The rewards offered by Divine Space were so attractive that everyone wanted to earn points. However, even the cheapest hockey training method required dozens of points. That meant they had to kill a large number of zombies. People were fighting with kitchen knives, shovels, wooden sticks, and every makeshift weapon they could find at home. But the zombies were far superior in strength, speed, and defense. Again and again, people were getting injured or infected, eventually turning into zombies themselves. As soon as I returned, Lin Gui gave me a full report on the situation. I nodded in satisfaction. "Good job. If you're tired, get some rest." I liked his hardworking attitude. In the apocalypse, this kind of determination and persistence was essential for survival. Even though he had already obtained the hockey training method using points, his hockey still hadn't awakened. However, he could feel his body becoming stronger with every battle. As a combat coach, his physique was already close to peak condition. For the first time in a long while, he could feel himself growing stronger again. That was why he valued this opportunity so much. He shook his head. "No, boss. I'm going to keep fighting." I simply replied, "All right, but don't forget your limits." After that, I took Ao Qing upstairs. The moment I entered the house, I saw Lu Mengqian massaging Lu Yunan's legs. After fighting all day, it was only natural for their bodies to be sore. As soon as she saw me, she immediately stood up and respectfully said, "Master." Once again, I felt that this girl was truly intelligent. Both Lin Gui and Lu Mengqian had great potential for the future. At that moment, Ao Qing ran over to father and proudly pulled out the Op fruit from her chest storage space before placing it in front of him. "Dad, this is the surgery fruit. You're a doctor, so you'll definitely like it." The moment Lu Mengqian saw the fruit, her heart trembled for a second, but she quickly composed herself and quietly continued taking care of mother. Ao Hai, on the other hand, didn't seem particularly excited. He had never watched One Piece. Holding the fruit in his hand, he asked, "So after eating this, I'll be able to perform surgery?" Ao Qing immediately began explaining. "You can create a special space. Inside that space, you can cut anything." However, father still didn't completely understand, so she showed him videos of the Op fruit inside Divine Space. After watching each ability one by one, Ao Hai's eyes widened. The power of the devil fruit was truly astonishing. Even then, he said, "I'm already old. You two siblings should keep this fruit." I immediately replied, "If you and mom become stronger, I won't have to worry about you. Then I can focus on my own responsibilities." After hearing that, he finally agreed. Parents never want to become a burden to their children. He took a large bite of the fruit. The next moment, his face twisted in disgust. Ao Qing immediately shouted, "Don't spit it out. Devil fruits taste terrible. Just swallow it." Ao Hai quickly swallowed the fruit and began sensing his new power. A few seconds later, he raised his hand and created a transparent room. Then he looked at the mop in front of him and concentrated. In the next instant, his position switched places with the mop. Ao Qing and I jumped with excitement. Then he picked up the military knife we used to kill zombies and slashed at the table in front of him. The table split cleanly into two pieces as if it were made of paper. Ao Qing excitedly shouted, "Dad, try cutting me too." Ao Hai was completely stunned. "Cut you?" Even though he already understood the fruit's abilities, the idea of cutting his own daughter still felt strange. "I don't have full control over it yet. What if you actually get hurt?" but Ouching stubbornly refused to back down. In the end, I changed the subject. We need to find more devil fruits. If we can collect enough of them, we might be able to rule all of BN City. Ouching's words made me think. Her treasure detection ability was far too valuable to be used in just a single city. At this very moment, countless devil fruits were lying ownerless across the world. Others had respawned after the deaths of previous ability users. If we took advantage of this opportunity, we could make our family even stronger while also collecting incredibly valuable resources for the future. Once the world adapted to the apocalypse, major factions would inevitably emerge. At that time, these devil fruits would become priceless assets for trading, forming alliances, and recruiting powerful followers. Even so, I was still worried about my family's safety. Then Aohai said, "Don't worry, I have a devil fruit now too. Lu Mengqian and Lingwei are here as well. We'll be fine." Mother also smiled and nodded in agreement. Lu Mengqian immediately added, "Master, please don't worry. We'll take good care of uncle and aunt." Hearing that genuinely made me happy. I immediately transferred 400 points each to Lingwei and Lu Mengjian so they could grow stronger more quickly. After that, I spent some points in Divine Space to create a private group and added every member of the family to it. Now, no matter where I was, I could contact them instantly. Once all preparations were complete, Ouching and I left the house. We got into a truck and headed toward the outskirts of the city. I asked, "So, where are we going now?" Ouching smiled. "Leave the direction to me. I'm a treasure rat. Even if I don't find treasure every time, my instincts are never wrong. Let's head to the western provincial capital. It has a larger population, a bigger city, and the highest chance of finding devil fruits." After deciding to head toward the provincial capital, I chose to trust Ouching's instincts and turn the truck westward. Along the way, we would stop from time to time, fight zombies, return to the truck whenever our stamina ran out, rest for a while, and then continue moving forward. Here is the translated script. The battles and the journey continued side by side. But gradually, I realized that this large truck wasn't very practical. Ao Hao had started feeling the same way. We needed a tough off-road vehicle. As soon as we entered the provincial capital, the difference became obvious. The number of zombies here was many times greater than in Beyond City. Military forces were stationed everywhere, systematically eliminating zombies. The sounds of gunfire and artillery echoed non-stop. Large numbers of zombies were being taken down. But the problem was that unless the core inside their brains was completely destroyed, they would still keep moving around. During this time, our large truck was stopped at a military checkpoint. A soldier stepped forward and said, "There's an ongoing military operation ahead. No one is allowed to go in that direction. A refugee shelter has been established over there. Our soldiers are stationed there, and food and water are being distributed regularly. You should head there." I politely thanked him. I knew the country was doing everything it could to stop this disaster, but I also knew that this apocalypse wasn't something human civilization could stop with its strength alone. So instead of heading toward the shelter, I turned the truck around and took another route. Right now, we didn't have the power to save the world. We returned to an old crossroads. After traveling about 7 to 8 kilometers north, we turned west again. This area wasn't under military control. Because of that, zombies were still spread everywhere. Sometimes, survivors could be seen outside buildings fighting zombies. They would somehow manage to kill a few zombies, then immediately retreat back inside the building, rest for a while, and later come back out to earn more points. Everyone was doing everything they could to survive the apocalypse. But during this time, something else caught my attention. It was an impressive off-road vehicle, a civilian version of an armored vehicle. It was sturdy and heavy. It didn't have military-grade targeting systems, but everything else was there. This was almost exactly the vehicle I had been looking for. At the moment, a young man was hiding inside it. He had made a small hole in the door and was sticking a long spear through it to attack zombies outside. Although it wasn't easy for him to hit a zombie's head, he still managed to kill a few of them from time to time. I parked my truck beside the Dongfengshi vehicle. Then Ouching and I got out. I transformed into my dragon human form and walked forward while swinging my heavy baseball bat. That bat was so useful that even though I had plenty of points, I still hadn't exchanged them for any special weapon. Meanwhile, the young man hiding inside the vehicle became nervous. He saw a truck suddenly stop beside him. His heart immediately started racing. Oh god. Edge Dragon Boss. Is Edge Dragon Boss here to steal my vehicle too? Sitting inside, he started imagining all kinds of possibilities, but within just a few minutes, I cleared out all the nearby zombies and knocked on his vehicle's window. The young man carefully opened the door. He knew that if Edge Dragon Boss truly wanted his vehicle, he had absolutely no power to stop him, so cooperating was the smarter choice. I got straight to the point. One truck, half a container of diesel, and in exchange, I want your vehicle. The young man stared at me for several seconds. The shock on his face was obvious. A truck and half a container of diesel for my Mengshi? Deep down, he had thought I would simply take the vehicle by force, but instead, I was actually proposing a trade. He quickly did the math. After switching vehicles, the truck wouldn't be very useful to him anyway, and there was no way he could use that much diesel by himself. Then he suddenly understood my real plan. I was trying to get an excellent vehicle at an extremely low price. Suddenly he smiled and said, "Boss, I don't want the truck. I don't want the diesel either. I'll give you the vehicle for free." I was slightly surprised. "Then what do you want?" Without hesitation, the young man replied, "Just take me with you." Over the past 2 days, he had witnessed the true horror of the apocalypse, and now, a powerful person like Edge Dragon was standing right in front of him. If he missed this opportunity now, he might never get another chance like it again. It was obvious to him that this was an opportunity he absolutely had to seize. Looking at his shamelessly thick skin, I was speechless for a moment. This guy was seriously shameless. I shook my head and said, "I have some important things to do right now. I can't take you with me." The young man's expression immediately fell, but then I continued. "How about this? I'll give you 30 points. With those, you can exchange for the 3-color hockey training method. After that, you'll have to walk the rest of the path on your own." The young man's eyes instantly lit up. "Boss." His voice became emotional. After all, in the early stages of the apocalypse, 30 points were nothing less than a treasure. "Please take me with you. I've studied wilderness survival. I can do a lot of useful things. Please take me with you. Please take me with you." He was an apocalypse enthusiast. He had specially customized this heavily armored civilian vehicle and had also prepared a complete set of survival equipment. "Look, boss, I personally customized this vehicle and I prepared all of this equipment myself. I can really be useful." But I still shook my head. "I have my own things to do right now, so taking you with me isn't possible. However, I've already cleared all the zombies around your villa, and with the more than 30 points you already have, you can buy the hockey training method and slowly become stronger yourself." Although he didn't achieve his original goal, obtaining the hockey training method was still an incredible gain. At the very least, he now had something that could truly help him survive in the apocalypse. Oh Ching and I went with him to his villa and put down his family members who had already turned into zombies, along with the useless zombie dog. Train hard. One day, you might become an apocalypse powerhouse yourself. "Boss, my name is Lin Tian. Can you tell me your name? If I want to find you in the future, where should I go?" Seeing how respectful he was being, I figured there was no harm in telling him. If this guy really had talent, I might be able to take him under my wing in the future. "My name is Ao Hao. My home is in Beyond City. If you can make it all the way to Beyond City on foot, I'll consider taking you with me." Ao Hao. It's just getting to Beyond City on foot, right? I'll definitely make it there. In reality, simply killing zombies wasn't enough. Even if you cut off their heads, the corpses would eventually be eaten by other zombies, and that would trigger their evolution. If zombies were truly going to be eliminated, their corpses had to be burned completely. But when zombie corpses were burned, the virus accumulated inside their bodies, spread into the air, increasing the concentration of the virus in the atmosphere and raising the chances of weaker people becoming infected. Not only that, but at high temperatures, the virus actually became even stronger. It was truly a dilemma. The only real solution was hockey cultivation. Hockey cultivation was essentially the process of strengthening the body to its absolute limits. Once the body became strong enough, a person would no longer fear either the zombie virus or the zombies themselves. Every other method was only a temporary solution. I wish your treasure space was a little bigger. Then we could take all this diesel with us. Our fuel is limited right now. That's why the area we can explore is also limited. You think I don't want that? Developing a devil fruit ability isn't that easy. But yes, you should stop eating so much junk food. If you get tired, just buy a water meat from the Divine Space Shop. It helps restore your strength much faster. The moment I heard there was treasure ahead, I became excited. As soon as I learned there might be a treasure waiting for us, I almost stopped killing zombies along the way and headed at full speed toward the location Ao Ching had pointed out. But when we finally arrived, we discovered that things weren't going to be easy. There was a factory surrounded by iron fencing. Outside, a barricade had been built using large machines, broken tables, and scattered chairs to prevent zombies from getting inside. Behind the barricade, people had modified factory tools into long-handled weapons. They were using them to kill any zombies that tried to climb over the barricade. There were also many people constantly patrolling inside the factory to make sure no zombies got in. Whenever a zombie tried climbing the fence, someone would immediately use a long spear to knock it back down. This place had already become an early-stage safe base, and it was obvious that the people leading it were far from ordinary. "Stay inside the vehicle. There are too many zombies outside. This isn't a suitable place for your training. Big brother, be careful too. That guy is crazy. Just watch. The zombies are going to tear him apart out there. Yeah, he won't even last 3 seconds." All the nearby zombies were attracted toward me, but I still didn't use my dragon transformation. That was because I had already reached the copper skin realm. My naturally strong physique, combined with a full month of brutal training, had given me an extremely solid foundation. On top of that, I possessed hockey genius talent, which allowed me to awaken hockey directly. My training speed was doubled, and my passive growth was constantly increasing as well. Because of all these advantages, I had reached the copper skin realm on only the second day of the apocalypse. The copper skin realm didn't literally mean your skin turned into copper. It was simply the first stage of strengthening the body's outer layer. Once the skin became stronger, the impact of blows and attacks against the body was greatly reduced. At the same time, strength, defense, speed, and recovery all increased significantly. The Azure Dragon Fruit also granted me additional physical strength even without transforming. Because of that, I could easily kill zombies in my human form, and fighting without relying on my ability actually accelerated my hockey growth. I recognize that vehicle. That's a Dongfeng Mengshi armored vehicle. That guy could easily leave this area if he wanted to, but instead, he's deliberately parked in front of our base. He must be interested in our base. Does he want to take it from us? us? Should we report this to Lao Zhang? Boss, a powerful expert has arrived outside. He has already killed more than 100 zombies by himself, and his Dongfeng Mengshi is parked right outside our base. Everyone thinks he's targeting our base. He's a truly dangerous person. The way he's killing zombies so effortlessly is putting a lot of pressure on us. If his intentions are bad, would we even be able to fight him? A full hour later, every zombie outside the factory's northern gate had been wiped out. I shook my aching hand and walked straight to the factory gate. I need to go inside and get something. What are you here to take? Obviously, I couldn't tell them I had come for a devil fruit. It seemed like the devil fruit was hidden in a very secret location. Otherwise, the people here would have already found and eaten it long ago. The moment I said that, the people standing in front of me immediately became alert. Open the gate? Isn't there some military saying about this? Something about tricking the enemy with a fake excuse. I may just be an ordinary worker, but I read military books all the time. You're not fooling us. We barely have enough food for ourselves. Go somewhere else. Yeah. Stop trying to fool us. If I really wanted to force my way inside, I could. I'm not exactly a good person, but normally, I don't attack people without a reason. I hope you'll make the smart choice. Damn it. There are so many of us. Why should we be afraid of you? If you've got the guts, come inside and show us. Let's see who's really afraid of whom. I'd like to see what you're capable of too. At that moment, an invisible pressure spread throughout the area. The workers felt as though the terrifying aura of a king had descended before them. A dreadful king's aura swept across the battlefield. Here is the translated script. Fear filled their hearts. Some people dropped to their knees on the spot. The most cowardly ones fainted immediately. Only Lao Zhang and a few others who had already started hockey training were still able to look directly at me. This is definitely Conqueror's hockey dop. Boss, let him come in. There's no shame in bowing before someone like him. Yeah, the strong rule the world. What's there to be ashamed of? The moment I released my Conqueror's hockey, I lost all interest in continuing the conversation. There was no point wasting any more time. A black aura wrapped around my baseball bat. I swung with all my strength. The barricade that the workers had spent so much effort building shattered instantly. Lao Zhang tightened his grip on his weapon, but in the end, he couldn't gather the courage to attack. Perhaps he was wondering whether a zombie skull was tougher, or his own. Ao Qing, come here. As soon as she heard my voice, Ao Qing pulled out the key, jumped out of the vehicle, and ran toward me excitedly. Sniffing with her little nose, she began leading me toward the area behind the warehouse. What's going on? Get lost. You little brat, what did you just say? How dare you talk to me like that? I'll hang you right on the front gate, and he even brought such a beautiful girl with him. Which club did he steal her from? We should let the factory boys have some fun with her first. Xiao Yan, kill him. I'll fight him too. Brothers, come with me. He insulted one of our women. We can't let this bastard go. If someone insulted me, I might ignore it, but if someone insulted my family, I would make them pay in blood. Ao Qing. Many times, the hearts of humans are even more terrifying than zombies and monsters. You can kill zombies now, but can you kill humans? The old order is gone. If someone insults you or bullies you, then you must teach them a lesson with blood. If you want to survive in this apocalypse, you have to abandon useless mercy. I won't bother those who don't bother me, but anyone who provokes me, no matter how far away they are, I will eliminate them. He's a devil fruit user. Ao Qing, remember the rules of the apocalypse. Destroy the enemy at the root. If hostility has already been created, then eliminate all future threats as well. Big brother, the person who insulted you is already dead. The others are innocent. Let them go. Ao Qing. This is exactly what the apocalypse is. A small argument can turn into a life and death conflict, and every conflict ends with someone being injured or dead. In my previous life, I thought killing only my direct enemies was enough. I thought I was already ruthless, but in the end, that unnecessary mercy became the reason for my death. In this life, even if people call me a devil, I will never show mercy again. We eventually arrived at the place Ao Qing had sensed. It was the food storage area of the factory cafeteria. With a single strike, I smashed the door open. Then I pulled out a devil fruit that had been hidden inside a fruit basket buried underneath other supplies. It was another fruit that I couldn't recognize, but when I returned to the factory gate, I discovered that my vehicle was gone. Although Ao Qing had removed the key, there was never any shortage of experts capable of picking locks. I immediately transformed into the Azure Dragon and flew into the sky with Ao Qing. It didn't take long before I spotted my vehicle. I dived down from the sky and flipped the vehicle over with a single impact. Boss, please don't kill me. Please. After getting back into the vehicle, Ao Qing remained silent the entire journey. Today was the first time she had seen me kill people so ruthily. She felt as if I was no longer the same brother she had known before. You're really scary. Ao Qing, remember this. This is the apocalypse now. Other than our family, you can't easily trust anyone. Big brother, were you reborn? Did you really come back after being reborn? I was shocked inside. Had I made some kind of mistake? Why had she suddenly figured that out? You stockpiled supplies like a madman. You forced mom to take leave from work and come home. You seem to know everything in advance. And ever since we came home, you've completely changed. It feels like you're a completely different person. As far as I can tell, there are only two possibilities. Either you were reborn, or another soul has taken over your body. By the time she said those last words, her voice was trembling. She was even afraid to look at me. She feared that her brother was no longer the same person. You silly girl. I knew you would figure it out eventually, but no matter what happens, I will never abandon you. Big brother, how did you die in your previous previous life. Was I this powerful back then too? And what about mom and dad? You all died. Whoever harmed you, I wanted to tear them into pieces. After leaving the factory, we continued heading west. Whenever we encountered groups of zombies along the way, we got out and fought them. To strengthen my Haki, I had almost completely stopped using my Azure Dragon power. Ao Ching still hadn't awakened Haki yet, so her overall strength was lower. However, thanks to the speed of her treasure mouse form, she could still fight zombies without much difficulty. We continued traveling west for 3 straight days. During those 3 days, we didn't find a single new devil fruit. Because of that, Ao Qing's enthusiasm started fading a little. She even began to wonder if there was something wrong with her ability. But I told her that this was actually normal. In my previous life, before I died during the second phase of the apocalypse, statistics gathered by a major faction showed that there were only a little over 10,000 ability users in the entire world. Big brother, we should go that way. Ao Qing pointed toward a small path branching off from the roadside. I looked at the map and was surprised. That path led directly into the mountains. In my previous life, many people had also hidden in the mountains. They managed to avoid large groups of humans, but they lost their chance to grow stronger and eventually died in the wilderness. I feel like there's something good over there. Even Ao Qing wasn't completely confident. After all, it was hard to trust something as vague as intuition, but I trusted her, so I immediately turned the vehicle toward the mountains. There weren't any zombies along the way, allowing us to drive at full speed. Ao Qing sat in the front seat, swinging her legs while eating snacks and browsing videos on the Divine Space Forum. Big brother, I just saw a post. Some guy was crying because he never got a devil fruit. Hey, why are you making that face? Do you know who that guy is? It was the author himself. The poor writer had probably exploded with frustration. I remembered that even in my previous life, he had never become particularly famous. Even though the world had turned into something resembling the story he wrote, it no longer had much connection to its original author. Gradually, evening arrived. I decided that we'd spend the night by the roadside. As we rounded a mountain bend, we suddenly saw lights glowing in the distance. Lights meant people. But in the apocalypse, the least trustworthy thing of all was other humans. I was ruthless, but I wasn't the type to harm innocent people for no reason. Still, the human heart was difficult to predict. Staying with strangers was extremely dangerous, so I parked the vehicle beside the road instead. Using the distant lights as a bit of illumination, we decided to spend the night there. Ao Qing took the camping equipment out of the back of the vehicle and started setting up a large tent. Although the apocalypse was incredibly dangerous, she didn't feel afraid under my careful protection. Instead, she felt excited. Big brother, what's wrong? What is that sound? Where is it coming from? Big brother, have you ever heard a zombie make a sound? Normally, zombies couldn't talk, their bodies were rotting, and their vocal cords were damaged. Because of that, they couldn't produce any sounds. However, as zombies evolved, their bodies gradually began repairing themselves. They slowly regained basic human functions. One of those functions was the ability to make sounds. But to do that, they had to become at least a 1-star zombie. The zombies currently roaming around were still unranked. They were physically stronger than normal humans, and their bones were harder. But they weren't difficult to kill. Even ordinary people could take them down. However, after consuming enough human flesh to repair themselves, their speed and strength increased significantly. They also began using human-like combat techniques. At that point, they became 1-star zombies, also known as flesh eaters. To defeat them, a person needed at least the strength of the Copper Skin realm. This place isn't safe anymore. Get back into the car. If there are only 1-star zombies ahead, that's manageable. But if a 2-star zombie appears, we'll be in real danger. I'm only at the Copper Skin realm right now. To reliably fight stronger zombies, I need to reach the Iron Bone realm. But the apocalypse has only been going on for 5 or 6 days. Zombies shouldn't be evolving this quickly. I sent Ao Qing back to the vehicle. Then I entered my human dragon form, grabbed a steel rod, and headed toward the source of the sound. When I got closer, I discovered an old, broken temple, hidden in the mountains. The place was in terrible condition, and looked like it could collapse at any moment. This definitely wasn't one of those commercialized Taoist temples designed for tourists. There had to be real Taoist priests living here. Dark lines appeared across my face. Such a huge bald head, yet such weak mental fortitude. Just as I was about to step into the Taoist temple, the crumbling wall of the main hall suddenly collapsed with a loud crash. An old man wearing black Taoist robes was pouncing on a human like a mad beast, tearing flesh from the victim and devouring it. Several corpses were scattered across the ground. The scene was horrifying. The old Taoist priest heard the noise and turned around. His eyes met mine. The moment I saw him, a bad feeling rose in my heart. This wasn't a flesh eater. It was something worse. A zombie even while eating. The old Taoist priest kept his body perfectly upright. Sharp claws had grown from his dried, shriveled hands. 4 long fangs protruded from his mouth. These were unmistakable signs of a zombie. Flesh eaters were merely one stage of zombie evolution. As zombies evolved further, they absorbed massive amounts of zombie virus to strengthen their bodies. However, the virus accumulated inside them before it could be fully digested. The concentrated virus hardened their bodies. At the same time, It granted them physical toughness comparable to the copper skin and iron bone realms. As a result, killing them became extremely difficult. The good news was that their fatal weakness was still the same: the head. As long as the head was severed or completely crushed, the zombie would die. But in such a remote area, where had it obtained enough virus to evolve this far? Just then, the zombie Taoist priest threw aside the half-eaten corpse in his hand and lunged toward me in a single leap. Its body was incredibly tough, and after that jump, it appeared right in front of me almost instantly. I quickly raised my baseball bat to block. The zombie bit down on it in a single motion. 4 deep fang marks appeared in the metal bat. I immediately exhaled a powerful burst of hot breath directly at its face. The attack burned its hair and clothing. Its skin and flesh darkened slightly from the heat, but it suffered almost no real damage. The zombie Taoist priest let out an enraged roar and charged at me again, swinging its razor-sharp claws. Although I couldn't use Conqueror's hockey coating, the baseball bat, wrapped in lightning, had gained a power that truly resembled Thunder Bagua. Then, with a deafening explosion, a sharp cracking sound followed. The specially reinforced extra-heavy baseball bat snapped cleanly in half, and all it managed to accomplish was leaving a tiny crack in the zombie's skull. The zombie Taoist priest let out another furious roar and lunged at me again, exposing its rotten, foul-smelling fangs. "Ao Ching, get underground. Don't come out until I've killed it." I had thought this was just a flesh-eater, but it had turned out to be a 2-star zombie. A zombie like this possessed terrifying strength, copper skin, and iron bones. Even human civilization's armored vehicles were practically useless against it. Ao Ching knew she couldn't help me, so she immediately transformed into her treasure mouse form and burrowed underground. At this point, I was already breathing heavily. Using heat breath and lightning power twice in a row was draining my stamina at an alarming rate. On top of that, my last attack had thrown the blood energy inside my body into chaos. The zombie Taoist priest leaped again and appeared in front of me almost instantly. Its 10 black shriveled fingers stretched toward me like deadly claws. I let out a roar and grabbed its wrists with my dragon claws. A direct clash of strength began. Although this zombie had already reached the 2-star level, and theoretically only someone in the Iron Bone realm should have been able to fight it head-on, thanks to the enhancements provided by the Azure Dragon, I was still able to contend with it for a short time. The two of us remained locked in place. Then suddenly, the zombie thrust its head forward. I hardened my resolve and lowered my head. The dragon horn on my forehead slammed directly into its skull. The dragon horn was incredibly sharp. It pierced straight into one of the zombie's eye sockets. The zombie roared in agony. Its head suffered a severe injury. If it had been any normal creature, that strike would have killed it instantly. But zombies were different. Its skull was unbelievably tough. It forcefully pulled its head away from the dragon horn and let out another roar. At that moment, both of its arms suddenly bent slightly. My expression changed immediately. The reason a zombie's body became so rigid was because of the zombie virus accumulated inside it. Once the virus was fully absorbed and fused into its body, flexibility would gradually return. The fact that its arms were bending now meant it was rapidly absorbing the virus. Delaying any longer would be dangerous. I let out a powerful roar, knocked its arms aside, and freed myself. Then I transformed into the Azure Dragon and shot into the sky. My dragon tail descended like lightning and struck the zombie with tremendous force. At the same time, a thunderbolt crashed down onto its body, scorching it even further. Even with copper skin and iron bones, countless wounds began appearing all over its body. Wind and cloud surge. The Azure Dragon swooped down and grabbed both of the zombie's arms with its dragon claws before lifting it into the air. The violent winds had already thrown off its balance, preventing it from properly exerting its strength. I carried it straight into the sky. With a furious roar, I squeezed my dragon claws with all my might, attempting to tear it in half. But the zombie was also resisting with every ounce of strength it had. I couldn't rip it apart. My realm was still too low. After transforming into the Azure Dragon, I could suppress it, but killing it was far from easy, and after only a short while, exhaustion began creeping into my body. If I were simply flying in dragon form, I could have lasted much longer, but combat was consuming my energy at an incredible rate. I climbed higher into the sky once more and hurled the zombie downward with all my strength. A terrifying explosion echoed across the mountains. The zombie's body smashed directly into the main hall of the Taoist temple. It crashed violently into the ground. Its body was covered in wounds, yet it still didn't fall. I landed as well and returned to my human form. Breathing heavily, I realized something. This was the first time I had fought at full power in Azure Dragon form. The form was truly terrifyingly powerful, but for my current level, it was still far too overwhelming. Kaido's strength was monstrous because he himself was an existence capable of destroying an entire nation alone. The Azure Dragon Fruit was merely a bonus to someone like him. Meanwhile, I was relying almost entirely on the Devil Fruit's power. The gap between us was as vast as heaven and earth. After a short rest, some of my stamina returned. The zombie Taoist priest also got back to its feet. I immediately entered human beast form again and coated my dragon claws with armament haki before resuming the battle. The dual protection of armament haki and dragon scales could prevent the zombie virus from entering my body. But if this fight continued much longer, I would eventually die from exhaustion. I needed a weapon. After another exchange, I quickly quickly retreated. There wasn't enough time to enter the divine space and buy a weapon. Oh Ching didn't have enough points either. Then my eyes landed on an iron rod, lying beside a shattered statue. Suddenly, I remembered where we were. This was the Leizu Temple. The iron rod that looked like connected bamboo segments was actually the steel whip once held in the statue of Leizu. I immediately rushed over and picked it up. The statue was enormous. As a result, this steel whip was far larger and heavier than ordinary weapons. Normally, whip-type weapons weren't much longer than 80 centimeters, but this one was nearly 1.2 meters long. Its body was thicker, heavier, and much more solid. For my current strength, it was absolutely perfect. The moment I picked up the steel whip, the zombie Taoist priest charged at me again. Its body was already on the verge of falling apart, yet its ferocity hadn't decreased in the slightest. I gathered every ounce of strength I had left and unleashed my final strike. After that, I dropped out of my human beast form. My hands had no strength left to hold that heavy steel weapon. I let it fall to the ground. My entire body was consumed by unbearable pain and exhaustion. Oo King had been hiding underground during the fight. When the sounds of battle finally stopped, he carefully crawled out. He saw me sitting on the ground, gasping for breath. He immediately ran over and brought me rat meat and fresh water. After resting for a while, the two of us entered the ruins of the Taoist temple. The bald man we had encountered at the entrance was already dead, caught in the shockwave of the battle. Inside the temple, broken statues and scattered debris were everywhere. Several bodies lay across the floor. The back hall was where the old Taoist priest used to live. Even though the main hall had collapsed, this section was still completely intact. This should be safe enough. I decided we would rest here for the night. I parked the armored vehicle directly in front of the entrance to block any humans or zombies from getting in. Then I grabbed a chair, sat out in the courtyard, and looked up at the night sky. That's when a thought crossed my mind, and my consciousness slipped into the divine space. Because you are the first person to kill a star-rank zombie, you will receive a reward. And because you killed a star-rank zombie within 10 days of the apocalypse beginning, the reward quality has been increased. Additionally, because you killed a 2-star zombie directly, the reward quality has been increased once more. Please choose one of the following 3 titles. I felt a rush of excitement the moment I heard that. Titles were just as rare as talents. In my previous life, no matter how hard I worked, I never once received a title. Title 1, Zombie Killer. Damage dealt to zombies permanently doubled. Title 2, Bounty Hunter mate earned from killing zombies permanently doubled. Title 3, Divine Member. Become an honored member of the Divine Space. Receive a one-time chance to purchase any item at a 90% discount, plus a permanent 20% discount on all future Divine Space purchases. All 3 titles were incredibly attractive. Killing faster and earning more. Both were outstanding options. In most cases, killing faster would be the better choice. It would increase earnings and make it possible to take on more powerful zombies. But both of those options looked pale next to the 3rd title, Divine Member, a one-time 90% discount, and a permanent 20% discount on everything after that. There were 2 unique exchange items inside the Divine Space. The Invisible Black Bloodline Factor, and the Demon Transformation Potion, which removed the side effects of the Devil Fruit. Both were priced at 100 million points, but with a 90% discount, either one could be obtained for just 10 million points. And on top of that, every future purchase would be cheaper too. I could even become a middleman, buying items at a discount and reselling them for massive profit. There was nothing to think about. I chose the 3rd title immediately, Divine Member. After that, I opened my personal panel name, Ow How Talent, Hockey Genius title, Divine Member Devil Fruit, Fish Fruit, Azure Dragon Form Body, Broken Body Copper Skin Equipment, Laser Whip, Tail, 9655. I suddenly noticed something. There was actually something listed in the equipment section. Laser Whip. I looked down at the bamboo-jointed steel whip I was carrying. This was the weapon of the Leizu statue worshipped inside the Leizu temple. But at the end of the day, it was just an ordinary object. So why was it classified as equipment? And why was the word tail attached to it? My old baseball bat had killed plenty of zombies too, but it was never once classified as equipment. I placed the steel whip in my lap and began examining it carefully. What exactly made this thing special? The whip was completely rusted over. Clearly, it had been sitting here for many years. Thousands of people had probably worshipped it. It had a total of 18 segments, and each segment was engraved with Taoist symbols and inscriptions. I fell deep in thought. The Devil Fruit appraisal fee was only 1,000 points. That wasn't a big amount for me at all, but there was no urgent need for it right now. We didn't need to identify the fruit yet. We would do it once we got back home. Meanwhile, something serious had happened on the other side. The father and son from the Chen family, who lived on the floor above us, had found out that we had a large stockpile of supplies. At that time, only Mom and Lu Mengqian were at home. Dad and Lingwei had gone downstairs to fight off zombies. The Chen family father and son seized the opportunity and attacked Mom and Lu Mengqian. Their goal was to take over the apartment and steal our supplies. Fortunately, Lu Mengqian had been on guard. The moment they attacked, she fought back instantly and killed both of them. Mom was deeply shaken by what she witnessed. She had already killed zombies before, but watching actual human beings die right in front of her was a completely different experience. When Linky returned and found out what had happened, he erupted in fury. He had already made a promise that he would never allow anything to happen to the boss's family, no matter what. In his rage, he immediately broke down the Chen family's door. Even I was taken aback by Linky's ruthlessness. He said he would collect wood and barricade the staircase to build a stronger defense system. Linky had once been an ordinary man, but during the apocalypse, his father had been killed by an infected zombie. He barely escaped with his life, fleeing in his car until he reached Bian City. Because of that, he had no family left to worry about. Meanwhile, Liu Mengqian was quietly thinking about her own family. Her parents had always told her she should help her older brother. Her brother was about to get married, and the girl's family had one condition. The groom needed to own his own home. So Liu Mengqian had just recently bought an apartment, and her parents wanted her to transfer that apartment over to her brother's name. But on the very day she was headed out to complete the property transfer, the apocalypse began. She used the chaos to escape and barely made it out alive. Now she had no idea what condition her parents and brother were in, and honestly, she no longer cared much whether they were alive or dead. That's everything available so far, guys. As soon as new parts drop, I'll upload them right here on this channel. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you're the first to know when the next part arrives. See you in the next part.